Okay, I'm going to record a quick response here to AZ Jackson that was on the Into the Nexus podcast, which was great. I'll link it in the description or whatever. Go watch this. This was a great interview. Gave a lot of insight on how the devs kind of think about the game, or at least the main balance dev, I guess, and the considerations they have to make and things like that. Anyway, to get to the point, here he talks about sort of noob trap talents is what I would describe them as, and the reasons that they might be in the game or not be changed and things like that. So I've talked about this in the past if you have seen my comments on Reddit or something, but I'll play the clip first in the relevant part here.
Talents that I've seen people talk about that's a trap talent is Phoenix's Q talent, the circle one. And at level 1, I think it's Arsenal Synergy. But I actually went in and looked at the data to kind of show you guys how we see things from our point of view. Let me see if I've got it here. So if you guys can take a look, these are his level 1 pick and win rates for Phoenix.
Oh, nice. Graph
let me
action.
see. Yeah.
They're pretty close.
Oh, no. There we go.
So win rate is on the right and pick is on the left?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I labeled it.
Gotcha.
But you can see there, like, people can clip it and stuff. But when I see these things, I go in and look, and actually Phoenix's level 1 talents are almost the same win rate across the board. And then their pick rates, you actually have the highest skill talent, the one where you do 3 regular shots and then the big shot that does more damage, is actually winning by a tiny bit more, which is actually almost perfect, right? The high skill talent's winning by a little bit more, and the other 2 talents are both evenly picked and competitive. When I see that, I'm like, wow, this is actually really good. But then, you have these opinions that, oh, this is a trap talent. It's actually not good. I don't want this person to pick it in my games. And that can be really tricky to design around, because a lot of our design actually doesn't come down to perfect numbers. Human psychology is a huge deal when it comes to making a good and fun game.
Okay, so that's most of the relevant part there. I would, again, recommend watching the whole episode so that you get the full context or the full clip or whatever, because he does touch on a couple other topics that are related to this over the course of the episode that I've now watched all the way through. But this, this was kind of my question that I sent to Garrett and Kyle, so thank you for asking it on the show and sending it to AZ Jackson, and thanks to him for responding to my question. And I think this response is good, and it touches on, I think, the general sentiment that a lot of people have towards some talents sometimes. But I think my complaints about this are a little bit different than maybe the question got the message across, and that's probably my bad for not maybe wording the question too bad. I didn't want to give this huge 3-paragraph essay or whatever on this talent. I just kind of asked an offhanded question that I've been wondering about for a while, so it's probably on me that I didn't word this question as well as I should have. But so my disagreement with here comes from mainly the win rate and pick rates. I think I agree with him that having 3 talents that have all pretty healthy pick rates between themselves and pretty healthy win rates between themselves. There's maybe one talent that's a higher skill level that's picked slightly less often but has slightly higher win rate, and that's almost perfect. As a designer, completely agreed, 100% agreed. I think that's a great goal to shoot for almost across the board on every talent tier, and it's a good measure of when you've achieved something successful. So in that sense, I agree with AZ Jackson here that maybe doesn't indicate that the talent should need to be changed. However, my disagreement comes from the math on the talent still means that whenever someone picks it in your game, they would have gotten more benefit from picking one of the other 2 talents. Just strictly always. The math makes it work out so that it is not viable, regardless of the pick rate and win rate. The pick rate and win rate almost is irrelevant to, the talent itself. I could make a talent that does nothing, and it could still have a 50% win rate if just the rest of the hero has about a 50% win rate, and people pick that talent and they win 50% of the time. And that talent could literally just be blank. It has no text, it doesn't do anything. So that could exist, and it could be picked, 10, 20% of the time, who knows? So I don't think that's necessarily the whole picture. And so the problem is that me as a Phoenix player, who I want to see build diversity. I think that's a good goal. I think currently right now, all three of his level 1 talents are kind of similar. For single target damage, you're almost always using Repeater Cannon. There's no real sort of bomb-focused playstyle. There's no real viable Q-focused playstyle. I think currently the talent is a little bit weak because it seems to me like it should be a Q-focused playstyle talent, and it's not really fulfilling that fantasy or opening up some other build diversity on the hero because it's split half and half between basic attack damage and the Q. And the Q part is actually very minor, and the basic attack damage stuff, it means it's a quest talent, it's a stacking talent, so it means you're weaker in the early game, you're kind of gimping yourself in the early game, and the problem with it is the math on it works out so that after level 9, or level 10, I don't know exactly on the math, but it's around level 9, that the other two talents will add more than 60 auto attack damage on every auto attack. So past level 9, that talent can never be as strong as the other two talents. It just can't. The math, it caps out at 60 and it doesn't scale. So that's the problem with the talent, is as a Phoenix player, I want to be able to say, yeah, there's this Q build you can go, there's this warp build, there's this bomb-focused playstyle, there's this repeater cannon-focused playstyle, you can go Planet Cracker, you can go Salvo. I want to be able to say all these talents are viable, and that you have different scenarios and reasons for picking them. They all have their niche, they all have their situational place. You know, some are good against this situation, and this hero is this counter pick kind of thing, and some are better in this situation. It depends on your team comp. You know, all these factors will come into play, but I want to be able to say those things. And currently, as a Phoenix main, as a Phoenix player that people look to take my advice, I can't say those things because currently the Q talent isn't mathematically viable. You would always be better picking some other talent. So I can say, no, the only way that you will get the most value out of the character is to play them auto attack focused and to play them repeater cannon focused and to not use warp build. It's to play either Arsenal Synergy or Mobile Offense. It's to take the movement speed. It's to go Divert Power. It's to go Salvo 90% of the time, or 95 unless you're on Braxis, and then even then it's kind of iffy. You could go either one. Then you go Rapid Recharge, and then you go one of the two talents at 16, and then you go one of two talents at 20. And that's the whole hero. So on almost every talent tier, there's either one choice or maybe two choices. There's never 3 or 4. So I can't say those things. I agree with him. I would love to be able to say those things. I think if I could say those things about every hero, this game would be amazing. But currently I can't say those things. You know, so that's where my my feedback is coming from, is that I currently can't say those things. I completely agree with him that I want to be able to say those things, and that by some metrics it seems like I should be able to say those, but it's just that the metrics aren't accurately measuring the reality is sort of where it comes down to, I guess. And so that's currently my gripe, is basically that my feedback is not that the talent, like, it is a noob trap in that sense, because anyone picking it would do better picking a different talent and playing the exact same way. And that feels like it's just not fulfilling its design goal or purpose in that sense, and it's almost a wasted space, in that by my estimation, or my assumption based on that math, would be that the hero's win rate would increase if you removed the talent from the game and he only had Mobile Offense and Arsenal Synergy to pick from, and then people played those two talents. My expectation is that his win rate would increase, just based on it, because everyone would just be naturally doing more damage accidentally. You know, whether they knew why or not, or whether they used the other two talents to their maximum potential or not. Part of this problem, I think, is that Arsenal Synergy is seen as a high skill level talent, and Mobile Offense, I think, is also a little bit above where you would want to be for some of the lower player base. Requiring movement between every auto attack is, I think, a little bit hard for people that are like brand new to MOBAs to get used to, and they're maybe a little bit intimidated by that. And so they pick the talent that's just flat damage because it's just, they know they're always going to get some value out of it. They just have to hit Q or whatever, and it's nice in that sense. But for anyone who actually can look into the math and does the math and like calculates these stuff, it doesn't compete. So that's kind of where my gripe is. I'm probably going to repeat myself, and I probably missed one of the main key points that I wanted to talk about here, that maybe I'll add in a comment or the description or something, but I don't want to make this video too long. I want to kind of make it digestible for where this feedback is coming from. And I've done the math on the past. I think they've changed some of the numbers since then, but the math is still almost the exact same. So I can link that other video that I did, that's another 10 minutes if you want to watch it. But I touched on the main conclusion from it in this video, which is that the other talents, like for comparison, Arsenal Synergy at level 1 adds roughly 48 damage per auto attack. And so comparing that to having to stack the other one up to 60 and then past level 9, it can't go past 60, whereas Arsenal Synergy and Mobile Offense do keep scaling past that 60 base damage. Maybe he could have a PvE talent, something like Rainer's Exterminator. Right now, that seems like that could be a niche of the current Q talent, is that it's damage that isn't dependent on hitting heroes. It's not only a when hitting heroes PvP talent, it could be a PvE talent. But because the stacking on it is so bad and the scaling on it is so bad, you would never pick it for PvE purposes because you would rather just pick the other two talents and be way better against heroes instead of, like, you can take 2 seconds longer on a camp, but if you take 2 seconds longer in a team fight to kill somebody, that matters way, way more most of the time, especially because you can have your teammates help you doing camps and things like that. So there's a lot of other factors that come into this, but that's my main feedback. Hopefully that gets my feedback across in a more clear and more design focused manner on these trade-offs and things like that. He also talks about, just before I end, because I just remembered this now that I wanted to talk about this, was that because it's a high pick rate talent and it currently has a good win rate and people seem to like picking it, is that removing it or changing it would have some cost associated with it, and that you need to kind of preemptively give reward for changing it so that the player base doesn't react negatively to that change and give negative feedback on it. Because at the end of the day, the point of the game is to have fun and to have people enjoy playing the game, right? I think that's pretty obvious. It makes sense. It's common sense. And so my disagreement with that is I don't think having a talent that I know is worse, and it's just unfortunate that these people that are picking it don't know it's worse. I don't find that very fun personally, for that to exist. And I don't like having to tell people, no, this isn't viable, no, you shouldn't pick it, no, it's bad, and it's unfortunate that it's this way, and it doesn't really seem like it until you do all this complicated math, because you have to know how much the delay is on swapping and all this other stuff, and like which stuff is additive, but the bomb is multiplicative with the bonus, and all this other stuff. Like, it gets too complicated and too much in the weeds, and it's not a simple explanation that you can just point to and say, no, you can play that playstyle, it's viable, it works. If you're good at it, you can get value out of it in these situations, go for it. If you really like that playstyle, you can play it. I can't say that, because it's not true. And I want to be able to say those things because I want them to be true. It would be more fun for me, not just them. And it's not just I'm going to play Arsenal Synergy forever, always, only. It's I want to be able to play these other playstyles and have these other talents be viable and things like that. So, anyways, don't want to ramble too much longer. Again, go watch the whole episode. It's really great. Kyle and Garrett do a great job, both, as Jackson says, of giving their own feedback and just kind of, I don't know what the word for it is, extracting the design thought process out of AZ Jackson. And he's very forthcoming about explaining it in a simple, understandable way. I think that kind of gets the essence of the core of what he's trying to get that message across, of these complex issues in a very simple, understandable way. So yeah, props to everybody on the show there. Go watch Into the Nexus. It's episode 311. It'll probably be up on their YouTube page, but right now it's on their Twitch page on AMove TV. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for watching.